You don't need to be a social worker. We do this, you know. But if you know a little background and some tools, your analysis will be better. If I say you agree, that's why we need to learn these analytical tools. Otherwise, you ask any person, economics, political science, sociology, they will do the same thing. Maybe it comes from the heart. Of course, you don't need, you know, a lot of things for that kind of analysis. But if you have some tools, your understanding will be much better. Your decisions will be much better, so that you will be able to serve your clients. Social workers are playing with lives. You agree? Doctors are also playing with life, but social workers are not less than that. Your choices will have impact on lives of your clients. So the choice that you're making is good or bad. How do you know that? Maybe you're making a bad choice. You know? Maybe you're making, you know, putting them much more trouble by referring to UNCRC, UNHCR, all that stuff which they don't know. Maybe you're really making them, you know, upset. You know, we are living okay. Now that you come and tell my daughter has the autism, my husband is a deaf, and my family is shattered, what kind of, you know, maybe you're putting the woman much more under stress. So basically, the choices that we make as social workers do influence your clients and you yourself. What I have done today, I have not done much for this family. I'm not able to help them. So you come home, but you still it is there. Like Rosalina said, it touched my heart. It is a true feeling. I believe in that statement. It must have really touched her, because till now she never looked into the refugees issues, though she's been a teacher. She's been teaching, maybe refugees is not part of her life frame. But now she's getting there. So descriptive analysis can be further divided into 4 types. Content analysis is nothing but empirical descriptions of an existing policy. That's it. Content analysis, media analysis. You want to analyze the content. That's what actually you guys have done there. You looked at the case, a life story or example, and then you have tried to analyze, looked at the content. How do we do this? If you want to do a content analysis, the example is reports. For example, annual reports. If you see an annual report, what kind of things that you learn from an annual report of an organization? The goal, the mission, the vision, number of staff, number of programs, budget, number of clients, you know, served, number of villages covered, number of counseling sessions, number of clients, you know, number of projects, you know, that kind of report. So if you read an annual report, basically it's a content, you know, based. The content is all about intentions, problem definitions, goals, means employed for achieving those goals. Basically numbers. But defines policy as what currently exists. If you want to do a content analysis, basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to understand policy or its impacts on that particular point of time. For example, you're looking at refugee policy and you do your content analysis. What is your output? The current situation. Malaysia is not signed. Malaysia signed. You know, so many. You said how many? 80,000 refugees, 93,000 refugees. None of them are, you know, covered. You know, there are 30 international NGOs working. You know, there are so many social workers working. There's so many millions of dollars, you know, have spent. You know, you don't make any political statements on that. Just look at the content. What is the goal? What is the definition? How many programs? How many refugees? How many staff? How much is the budget? Just the facts and figures. That's what content analysis. Look at the media reports. Look at, okay, this report is basically focused on Burmese refugees. This report is focused on Singapore, refugees or whatever. Just the content. You're not taking any sides. You're not making any statements. You're not suggesting anything. If you do a content analysis, it's like fact finding. Anyone can do this. It's very simple. Because you're not making any big, you know, calculations, any projections, nothing. You're just trying to understand the policy as it is in 2012, October 10th. Maybe it will change later. You are not interested. Maybe this policy came, you know, as a policy after 50 years of hard work. You're not interested in that. You're not looking at the history. You're trying to understand as it is today in terms of facts and figures and certain parts. Is that clear? Any questions? This is content analysis. I think basically it's an empirical description. What you see, you try to understand. Why so many 90,000 refugees? Why Malaysia has not signed? You're not asking this. You're just asking there are 90,000 refugees. Malaysia has not signed the convention. There are these urban settlements full of refugees. Just facts and figures, that's it. By reading the report. Usually scientific reports are like that. Or annual reports of JKM, for example. They talk all these figures and diagrams, and they're not giving any explanations. Maybe education policy. If you do a content analysis of education policy, you just do this. So when you refer to the Penang Institute speech that we attended, are they doing content analysis or are they doing what kind of analysis they have done? Okay. So Rosalina, myself and Farida attended this Penang Institute blueprint discussion. There are 4 speakers and we are trying to understand what kind of analysis they have done to present that. To me, I think some speakers they have given these numbers. There are 22 shifts. See, they're using 22 shifts, just content analysis. In this shift, this is what it is. In this shift, this is what it is. And this blueprint, which Malaysia Education Department is trying to promote, is how many? 2015. It is 2012 to 35. Yeah, 35. They're just targeting those years, durations. This much is money allocated. That kind of presentation they made. I mean, okay, some people, of course, they have gone to the history. They have gone to little bit choices. So content analysis is very simple. Anyone can do this. Just take the Malaysian policy. Just see the content and what is there. The focus, and that's it. You will be able to understand that one. You don't have time. You don't have anything. You're already traveling. You're already there. So a simple content analysis will also help you a lot. And anyone can do this. Just flip through this and you will be able to understand. That's what it is. Empirical description of an existing policy in terms of intentions. What are the intentions? 1, 2, 3. What are the problem definition? Okay, this is the problem definition. What are the goals? 1, 2, 3. What is the vision? Okay, this is the result statement. What are the means employed to achieve these goals? Okay, these are the programs. There are 5 programs. How much time? Till 2015. How much money? Okay, 20,000 billions. Those facts and figures, if you do, also gives you a lot of understanding of policy. Can you do this? Just take one policy, any policy, and just do a content analysis. Journalists actually does this. Usually, journalistic reporting. If you see, they just take these figures. Malaysia one policy is this. This. These are the figures. This many people covered. These many families will be, served. It's nothing but a content analysis. Most of the reports, they use this content analysis. It's easy, it's less intensive, and they're not taking any sides. Okay, shall we move on? It's very descriptive in that way. That's why it's part of a descriptive analysis. See, I'm here. Descriptive analysis. You're just describing the policy in terms of its contents. Okay, it's divided into 20 pages and 5 sections. In each section, you have this, something like that. Okay, shall we move on?
Yes.
Another one is very interesting. This choice analysis. Any idea what is this choice analysis? By the word itself. Now that you have done a content analysis, within 1 day, half a day, whatever, you finished. Now you want to do a choice analysis. What is that? What is choice? In Bahasa, what is choice? You go and see a bride or whatever. You make a choice in 1 minute for the entire life. That I'm going to live with this person. You're making a choice. On what basis you're making this choice? It's the same thing that you think here, choice analysis.
Choose what we want to analyze.
Huh?
Okay.
Sorry?
Choice analysis is what we choose what we want to analyze.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. You want to choose what you want to analyze in a particular policy. For example, the same refugee policy you have taken, but you have a choice to focus just one section. Yeah, maybe that could be one thing. What else?
one section from the
Yeah, you made a choice. Okay, you want to focus in this policy only on the budget part, not on others. You are making a choice there. You are interested in analyzing that policy only on budgets. Or you are interested only analyzing that policy on the vision statement. I don't want to analyze anything else. I want to understand the vision of this policy. If I agree with this, I will go ahead. Otherwise, I will not go ahead. That's what he says. What else? Yeah, maybe correct. Maybe true. You are making a choice. You don't have time, you don't have energy to do the whole thing. Any other? Choice analysis. What is choice? What are the components in a choice? Decision. Okay. Okay, in this policy, what are the major decisions that are being made? Okay, you look at only the decisions of this policy. Okay, you are making a choice already on that.
When we say choice, which means there is more than one thing available.
Okay, there is a more than one thing available, and you are making a choice here.
So,
Options. There are more options.
We are trying to analyze both.
Both. You know, there are two girls I like, but which girl I should marry?
So you
I'm comparing. Yeah. Experience. Okay, she's good, but she don't have a PhD. She's not good, but she's a prime minister's daughter. You know, you're making choice, comparing. What else? Okay. What else? So what is that? So in a policy, you see those things.
Yeah.
Okay. You see the comparison in the whole policy. Why 20 billion ringgits are allocated? Why not 40? There is an option, there is money available, but why for this particular policy, this only little bit money is being allocated, okay? So you will see those decisions, options, what else? Choice analysis. If you know this, done. You don't need to do anything else. Very interesting thing. You have done here actually already. In your analysis, it is there already. Storytelling takes place, okay? So you have taken that as a choice. Same thing. What else? Choice. How am I making a choice? On what basis and why? Why people make choices? Huh?
Which is the best?
To choose the best.
Which is the best?
And what is the guarantee that that is the best?
From the analysis?
Huh? From the results maybe. I have chosen this girl, I'm happy with her, and now 10 years my marriage is working. Experience. Okay, what else? Okay, in the literature, they further divide into 4 types. When I'm saying choice, basically there are 4 dimensions to a policy which we can understand. A systematic process of looking at the options, which you just said. What are these options? Why this policy? What kind of options this policy is making? A systematic process of looking at the options available to the planners or the policymakers. For same thing, why Malaysia has not signed a refugee convention? What policy options before them? Why Deputy Minister is saying that if we legalize a refugee convention or sign refugee convention, there will be more refugees? Is that a correct statement? Is that an option? Is that a good option for Malaysia? Policymakers were dealing with the social welfare problem. The focus is on the issue of choice. In content analysis, the focus is on the content, just on the content. But here, you are looking at the choices that are being made. What choices that make up this policy designs? What are the major choices have been made by some national when it comes to refugee policy? What options did these choices exclude? You understand this question? What options did these choices exclude? The option for the refugee convention is not to sign. But not signing the refugee convention, what are the things that you are excluding? The right of the refugees? Yes. You're already, not willing to recognize them as human beings or human rights, people with human rights. What else is excluding? Maybe you are excluding an opportunity of cheap labor, of a talented manpower. Maybe. What else? So by making that option as your choice, not to sign, You're already excluding certain things. So if you can understand a policy from these 2 point of views, I think your understanding will be much better. How do we understand these 2 questions? Delivery structure, type of benefits, came delivery structure came, that's wrong, and financing benefits. I think the third one is basis of allocation, types of benefits, delivery structure, and financing benefits. We'll go away one by one, so don't worry. Okay, now I said we can understand these choices in 4, looking at 4 things. What are they?
Basis of
Let's say delivery structure. What is delivery structure? How services are being delivered. Universal or selective. Whether refugee services are all refugees or not, or only the Burmese refugees are given certain preference. What is the delivery structure? First we'll try and understand. For example, old age pensions. Okay, imagine you're looking at a old age pension policy. You want to understand the delivery structure. So is this policy delivered universally for everyone without any making choices? The choice is for everyone. Or certain policies make a choice, it's not for everyone, but only selective people will receive. It's for the elder people, but with only people with disabilities. It's for the elder people, but only people who are 80 plus. It's for the elder people, but only for people who are living in compound, whatever, choice. So to understand a policy's choice, you can use the delivery structure that it has taken up. What do you think? Do it clear? Second way to analyze a policy is through what choices is being made. The choices can be understood from 4 points. 1, delivery structure. The second one is type of benefits. I don't see enough here. You understand what is delivery structure? Or any questions? You ask some questions.
rather than putting it as delivery structure.
Okay.
We see that it's like the
Huh?
type of the welfare itself. Are we supposed to connect it back?
Type of welfare. You want to work on type of welfare, okay? Is it residual? It's also a choice.
Yeah.
Okay, we can include that. But in literature you'll see major, when it comes to choice, you're looking at how these allocations are being made, how this delivery is being made, how much finances are covered, and one more thing, what kind of benefits that you're offering. So maybe you can also include type of welfare. It's also a choice. Whether this particular policy made a residual welfare, it's only for few people. Basically you're coming there. The allocations that this policy is making. What is the basis for allocations? Is it universal or is it selective? What kind of benefits it's offering? Is it cash or is it kind? For example, as students, you are receiving 200 voucher. Is that good? You're getting cash. Or is that good? Or is that you get books straight away? Kind. Or for example, for old people, is it good that they receive 500 records every month, or they receive a nutritious packet every month? Which is medicines and some nutrition food, some Horlicks, some whatever, basic medicines. Which is better? Some people say that the cash is better, so that they can invest, they can use whatever way they want. Maybe they want to give it to grandson, they want to invest on zakat, or they want to buy whatever, which is better. But some people say, no, it's not better, because if you give $500, the son will take, the wife will take, it will never be spent on them. So better give them the kind, give them the food, so that at least they will drink. There are options. You have to make a choice. The policy makers will make a choice. Maybe Bala National will say that okay, we will give the food packet. We will not give the 500 ringgits. Another party comes in power, they said, even the food, sometimes not being used properly, they're reselling that. Okay, the old person taking this food packet and giving it for 200 ringgits only, 50 ringgits, 25 ringgits. So others are benefiting, so we will not send the food packets, but we will send 500 ringgits on the door. The social worker will go there, he will see the elder person, then he will give to the elder person and then take a signature whatever. They're making a choice. So if you do that kind of analysis, you are making a choice analysis of the policy. What kind of choices this policy made? For that, these are the things we'll have to. The type of benefits. For example, you guys here, remember what kind of choices you made? You said the type of, you're not talking about any the type, and you're talking about the kind services. You're not thinking of a cash support here. You thought about it, you want to provide services, but services in kind. You never thought about, a cash input. Maybe, you give that particular family 2,000 ringgits every month, they will take care of it. The father will go wherever he wants to go. The children will take care of itself. A simple policy, but you have not thought about that. You have rather taken a long route. That is what the choice that you guys made. So when you want to analyze a policy, one is content analysis, very simple. The facts. The second one is choice analysis. That is a little difficult because you are asking critical questions. For example, this blueprint. What choices the education policy has made now? Can you say something? What are the choices that the blueprint has made now? The blueprint that we are discussing. There are certain choices we can see there. There are 22 shifts. Basically, there are 22 choices. 11 or 22, whatever. Those are the choices that the policy made. It's talking about integration. It's talking about less politicization. It's talking about whatever. All these 11, and they also wrote how they want to implement that. So if you want to focus on that, these are the things. Look at the kind of allocations this policy is making. Whether it's for everyone or it's only for selected people. If it is only for selected people, why is only selected people are covered under this particular policy? Why not for universal? Because universal also has its own strengths. Selective, it's a lot of administration, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of evaluation. It's difficult. Yeah, it takes time. It's intensive. We know that. But despite of all this, why this policy has made that particular choice? You get into there, you will get something out of that. Maybe at the end you will suggest that this selective policy, the choice that this policy is making is not good. Let's make it general. Maybe you will say that. You don't know. No. This selective policy, the choice that the policy made, it's good, it's working. Whatever. Types of benefits. Maybe you will see, both. Like whether the policy is giving cash, it has its own problems. The policy suggests that services are in kind, it has its own problems. So when you see that, okay, the choice that this policy made by giving kind, the benefits is not really good. It's not working. There's a lot of corruption is taking place, like textbooks, printing, whatever they're talking about. Basically, what is that? You print the textbooks, you give them the free. But even then, there's a lot of corruption it seems in that. Rather, you give 200 rupees voucher, let them buy whatever textbooks they want to buy from Cambridge, from Oxford, from whatever. So, when you want to understand what choices a particular policy made, what are the things that we will look at it? Type of welfare, type of allocations, type of benefits, what else now? Financing, okay, what else? Now you will be able to understand more. Delivery structure. Is it centralized? Everything will be done by federal system or by the state? Is it will be a coordinated manner or it will be a very fragmented manner? Certain policies, defense is a centralized policy. It makes that choice. Is that a good choice? Or even when it comes to defense, even state government should be involved, even village should be involved. Like whatever you call the police, the community police. What is that? It's not a centralized policy. It is a very decentralized policy. You know, you have your own compound, supervision. Recently, there was an increase for the money for them.
Yes.
It was 1,500 ringgits earlier. Now they're increasing monthly allowance for volunteering police volunteering, whatever you call. Yeah, what do you call that? Prera. I've read in the newspaper. What do you mean by that? Why they're increasing the salary from 1,500 to more? It's already a volunteering. Huh? What kind of choices it's making now? By increasing that. Huh? To get more volunteers, one, okay. Maybe further decentralization. Okay, now we are not worried about the national defense, force, but we are more interested in making our own village-based, security system, decentralized. So basically, you can understand a particular policy is suggesting a more centralized. If yes, why? What are the advantages? Or it is suggesting a more decentralized. If yes, why? Look at your educational policy. It's supposed to be a state, even a district based. That's what they're discussing. But now, education policy is central. Very centralized. That's what they're finding it as a problem. The choice that we made to make educational policy as a central policy in Malaysia has its own problems. It should be decentralized even at the district level. That's what they're arguing, right? By saying that, basically they're doing a choice analysis. They're looking at the delivery structure. Look, this is delivered as a central thing. There's a lot of corruption here, there's a lot of bureaucracy. It's not efficient. Let us decentralize. How do they came to that answer? They looked at this. The choice that policy made as a centralized federal thing is not working anymore. And they're saying last 50 years, 60 years or whatever. After Mahathir, I think. After Mahathir, it is too much centralized, actually. That's what they say. Penang government gives a lot of money for Tamil schools, but Penang deputy minister, maybe on the records, he's not invited by the Tamil schools for any official program. Why? Because education is a central thing. And if you want to invite local officials, you need to get clearance from the center. That's what he says. It's an open public lecture in Penang, and the deputy chief minister is on records about this. He's not been invited by USM, that's what he said. We are going to invite him, maybe, I don't know. But you understand what I'm saying? Basically, it's making a choice. Both systems, whether it's centralized or decentralized, has its own strengths and limitations. But as an analyst, you will go into that. Okay, education policy, why it has been centralized? What was the reason? By whom it was centralized? After becoming centralized, what are the strengths? What are the limitations? Get in there. Then you will come to know more about this. So, we are still talking about descriptive analysis. Within the descriptive analysis, one way is to look at content. Just simple content analysis. If you want to be a little bit more critical, policy analyst, you want to understand more, what is that you do? A choice analysis. How do you do that? Asking simple questions. What choices this policy is making and why? And to understand the choices that are being made, you understand by looking at delivery, by looking at the coverage, by looking at the structure, and by looking at the finances. For example. Okay. How is this policy being funded? Is it only from taxation? In India, education policy recently introduced an additional tax called education service tax. Anything you buy and sell, you pay 1% extra. That 1% goes to the education fund, taxation, so that you can fund more schools, more rural schools. So there are many ways you can fund a particular policy and programs through taxation, voluntary contributions, federal funds, state funds, local taxes, or user service charges, or value-added taxes. There's so many ways that you can fund. Medical, for example. I think recently they have added value-added taxes. Any service that you get, you pay more. VAT. we had 13% or something like that extra now. Why are they doing that? Earlier it was not there. But now by introducing that particular provision, you get additional amount for other purposes. So how do you finance is up to you. Maybe a little bit through taxation, a little bit through user charges. Or the whole money comes only from user charges and value added taxes. It's all up to you. How you want to fund your particular policy. You look into that. How is this meeting? Okay, 20 million ringgits. From where this 20 million is coming? Okay, 10 millions are coming from federal, for taxation. 5 million are coming from some charitable donations. Another 5 million coming from ADB, loans. Another 2% is coming from actual user charges. And why? Why it cannot be fully funded by the federal? Why it cannot be why it could have been fully, by user charges? Can you think of anything now? For example, our education fund, how it is being funded, the education policy. It should have been free. It's not free now. Every year the universities are increasing charges. Why are they doing that? Why is that higher education is becoming expensive? It's a choice that education policy is making. In Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway or whatever, higher education is free. So why is that Malaysia, one of the prosperous country, cannot provide education free? You are making a choice there. Why? Then you ask that question, then you understand what kind of choices it made. It do not want to make higher education free. It wants to fund through the student fees, user charges. You pay and you study. Higher education. So the people who can pay, they can study and they can earn more. They can get jobs and they can you can understand. So our education policy is making different choices during different periods. Maybe in 1950s it was not the case. 1950s everything is free, maybe. But now it's only primary education is free.
Yeah.
Maybe later, even primary education, people like me, we have to pay. It's not free anymore. Maybe, if we opt a different system, and your education system is into national schools, vernacular schools, Tamil schools, international schools, home schools. We were discussing all that, right? So the policy is making choices. Maybe those choices are correct to someone, benefit certain group, and those choices are not benefiting certain groups. For you as an analyst, it's your job to understand those implications. What is the implication of a student paying for the higher education? It's a choice that we make. The national education policy made. What is the choice? What is the impact of it? Maybe the more poorer students can't come anymore. So how can then you say that education is an important resource into human resource development? You are contradicting. So if you make a choice analysis, you are actually find a lot of things. You are getting? Just look into the choices that a particular government made in a particular policy and why, and what is the impact of that particular choice on the well-being, on the access, on the development. You can ask all those questions. This refugees, for example, it would have been nice in certain countries. They're asking for these refugees. Why? Because that country is very good. Why, for example, US, recently accepted I think 50 or 60,000 Tibetan refugees from Nepal. Why? Or Sweden or many other countries, they accept, they invite or they take care of these refugees. Why? Why do you think? They're so nice countries, they're very good, they're Christian ideology or whatever. What do you think? Why Swedish policy is much more positive when it comes to refugees than Malaysian thing? Culture?
Because they choose.
They choose. But why is that they're choosing that particular thing? Maybe they see refugees will add to the diversity. Maybe they'll see refugees once they integrate into the society will produce more children.
Maybe they can be
Maybe.
a good workforce.
Maybe they could become a chief good workforce. I'm sure there are many reasons behind that policy. But the many choices are being made by Swedish government and they are soft on a particular policy. So you understand those choices and you ask questions, then you come to know a lot of things about a particular policy. Okay, shall we move? So it's very simple. Choice analysis, just understand those choices that are being made. The kind of allocations, the way it is being funded, the structure, the way it is being delivered, the type of welfare. You ask those choices, whatever those choices. For example, the blueprint, why it is 235? Why not 220? Someone has asked that question. You remember? Malaysia by 2020, we are all supposed to be, prosperous and economically well and everything is well. Why this blueprint is talking about 235? That means by 2020 we all will still poor. That is the question that fellow asked. There is a contradiction in the same government, 2020 and 2035. Why that choice that we made? Why it should have been still 2020?
Because policy is something evolving.
Maybe they thought, the government, whichever government in place, they thought by 2020 it is not just possible to make all these 22 shifts. Someone said, even 2035, it is simply not possible. It is irreversible. It takes a lot of time to do all this. Whether we have those kind of resources or not, whether a particular government is interested in spending that kind of resources or not is a big question. So basically they're asking the choice that a particular policy being made. Very interesting analysis. So under descriptive, there is one content analysis, choice analysis, and then now we are talking about comparative analysis. Very simple comparison. Build it there. You compare a refugee policy of Singapore and Malaysia, refugee policy of Malaysia and Indonesia, and you try to get something out of that. And you compare, you compare on strengths and limitations and all that, and you get some insights into that policy. Or you compare health policy and maybe a medical policy, if there is some, or health policy and medical tourism policy. It's very difficult to delineate a policy area also. That's also we should be very careful on. There are policies within the policies. Like you have health policy, maybe you have medical policy, insurance policies, medical tourism policies. There's so many policies within that big one policy. So you have to be very clear which policy that you're trying to analyze. You delineate yourself. Within the youth policy, you have so many policies. Youth but disabled, youth but coming from rural, youth coming from higher class, youth coming from refugee, asylum seeking and juvenile justice, that kind of backgrounds. So which is that you're actually focusing and trying to analyze? Otherwise it's difficult again. Okay? So comparative analysis. It's systematically comparing policies across two or more settings, or between nations, between two social policies. As I said, housing policy between Penang state and Selangor state. See, one Malaysian thing, but you are focusing on housing policy in Penang and housing policy in Selangor. You compare, then you will come to know why Penang and maybe KL or whatever. So you may compare policies between private and public services. Okay, medical policy, but policies that govern private hospitals, policies that govern government hospitals. Again, you compare. So it's very easy. Why do we need to compare again? What is that we get out of that? We get the strengths and limitations so that limitations can be overcome.
Yes.
Or you can replicate, you can multiply, and you compare. So this is one way, again, very simple way to look at policy when you want to analyze. Another one is the historical analysis that has already came up, in earlier discussions. Basically, you're looking at policy in the history. Why education policy, the current education policy is like this? Is it because last 30, 40, 50 years? Or what was the history? It is difficult, if not impossible, to analyze any current policy without reference to the history. I'm sure. Any policy you take it. It is very difficult to analyze any current policy without at least a brief review of past events. current policies can be fully understood only if we have a thorough understanding of their evolution. So, historical analysis focuses on patterns of policy behavior. Okay, we are looking at education policy, 1950s to 1970s, 1970s to 1990s, 1990s to 2012. Look at this, in this, or education under Mahathir, education under Nazim, education under Padavi, education under different regimes. We are referring to a historical point so that your analysis will be better. It gives a good picture. You agree? So there are two ways. One is descriptive analysis. It's also very descriptive, but here the focus is on historical periods. And maybe in Balavi time, this is the unique features of this policy. In Mahathir's time, these are the unique features, these are the limitations. In Nazim's time, these are the unique features and these are the achievements. You can divide into that, and you can analyze, and you can now bring why Nazim made that particular choice. Why was that choice? Why the delivery structure was different from that period to now? You can answer those things. So you can actually combine. You can start with content analysis. You can do a quick historical analysis. You can do a quick comparative analysis, and you can also do a choice analysis. How the document will look like now? If you do this, it looks very, very not difficult, but it's not. Actually, we will be doing knowingly and unknowingly. Whenever you do any policy analysis like this that you have done, you will be doing this. Now that you know, you will actually apply them. Okay, now in the section 1, I do just a content analysis. Just do that. In section 2, I do a little historical analysis. In section 3, I will give a little comparative analysis. In section 4, I focus on more on choice analysis, and then I give conclusions. How do you think your report will look like? Huh? I'm sure it will be better. And your whatever suggestions that you are making, whatever recommendations that you are making will be better taken. I'm sure there's no doubt about that. So this is one way of looking at policy analysis. Now I want to focus on very important thing again, process evaluation or process analysis. What is the difference now? Till now we are talking about descriptive analysis. Within that, different types. What are the different types? Content, choices, process, no, comparative, and then historical. Okay, with that you finish the descriptive analysis, but you don't want to do that. You want to do a process evaluation. Same education policy, for example. You take education policy and you want to do a process analysis of the education policy. What do we mean by that? Process analysis. Process analysis is less concerned with policy content than how a policy come into being. What it means not just what, but how, why, when.
All this means whether it is top-up or
Okay.
It focuses on the implementation.
It focuses more on implementation. When you are doing a process analysis, that means you are more into implementation. What else? What else? When you say process analysis, you have two choices, right? You want to do a descriptive analysis. You want to do a process analysis. You can do both also, of course. No, there is no one will say that no. You have to do only one. No. But you made a choice already. You want to do a process analysis of education policy.
When it comes to implementation, of course, we have to look into need analysis, whether the society really needs our policy or not, the kind of policy that we want to implement, benefits, and then we also have to look at cost effectiveness and have to look at delivery. How many people we benefit.
So if you do this, if you does this, you are focusing on process. So what I said here, you focus on interactions of many policy actors. you have learned entrepreneurs, networkers, who are the fixers here, who are the storytellers here, who are the policy activists here, who are the policy advisor, who are the policy, what else? Activists, advisors, lobbyists. You get into all this. Then what type of information you will get, for example? Media, social workers, special interest groups, activists. You are not comparing. You are not doing any content analysis. You are not also looking at maybe your choices or delivery systems or whatever. But in a process analysis, your focus is on interactions or interests of all these policy actors. Is there any, you see any difference or not? Earlier, we never talked about this in that detail. In the content analysis, we are focusing on facts. In the choice analysis, we have choices, maybe we'll also see here. In the comparative thing, our focus is in comparison. And in the historical, our thing is more on what happened in the past. But here, we are saying that we want to focus on the interactions between many policy actors. Why? What kind of information you will get if you focus on them? For example, education policy, right? You want to study education policy. So it should be having all this. And now you find out what's happening in between these guys. What's happening between textbook publishers and textbook writers. What kind of content. Find out what's happening with juvenile justice centers and schools. Find out what social workers is doing. Find out what research centers like Penang Institute is, reflecting. Then, if you find out all these interactions between all these people, the kind of suggestion, the kind of analysis, or the kind of conclusions that you will be making are useful or not?
Yes, very useful.
And how do you do these interactions? How do you capture these interactions?
Literature review.
Okay, one is literature review. What has been written already about these things? For example, just we went to one briefing, 2 hours. I get a lot of information on education policy, for example. Now, okay. What else? What else you will find? Yeah. The focus is on interaction of many policy actors. So you did all that. So what are you doing here? You're doing an evaluation. You're doing a monitoring. You're doing what kind of thing that you're doing here? Okay, you found that the textbook, there is a correlation between textbook publishers and textbook authors. Okay, a particular textbook author is preferred by a particular publisher. You found that it's very, very interesting, but it's not good because there's a lot of talent outside here, and the other authors are not given a chance. What are you trying to do here? By saying that, you're trying to evaluate who is getting those contracts, how are they getting those contracts, what is the quality, what is the impact. You're trying to evaluate. So process analysis of a particular policy is all about evaluation. Or what else? When we should do a descriptive analysis or when we should do a process analysis. Sorry? For example, your boss asked you, just give me a small brief on analyzing an education policy. Where you will start? You will start studying with this or with something else? You will start with descriptive, that too for content. Just 1 page. Okay, then tomorrow you send. It's easy. Do you think it's difficult? Why? It takes a lot of appointments, a lot of time, a lot of energy. But why? If you can just understand a policy from a content, why the hell we should do this? We need an evidence. For what? For those figures and facts. Okay? How do you collect that evidence? By just talking to all these people. I'm trying to understand how do we understand these interactions. I spoke to her, I spoke to her, I spoke to her, I spoke to you, and I'm making a big statement on this. Oh, education policy is bad or very good, whatever. So is there message? Huh?
Analyzing
Perspectives of these people. Okay, this is her perspective, this is your perspective, this is your perspective. Okay, I look at all these perspectives and then I try to make a statement on that. Okay, what else? We should stop here.
Look at the achievements.
Achievements, okay. Look at those achievements that they say, Maybe education department is saying, look, this is what the achievements we made. Whatever is the problems with the textbook printing, but we are achieving, we are producing good, students, high caliber students. So I don't worry about that textbook printing or whatever. Maybe, okay. You get the achievements. What else?
Maybe we are looking at how the policy affect
How?
all these stakeholders.
How this policy is already being affected by these people. Maybe after all these consultations, road shows, maybe Nazib will say, no, why we should be worried about 2035? We can do it in 2025. You never know. So by doing this, we are actually looking at perspectives, we are looking at achievements, we are looking at possible changes, we are looking at many things there. Maybe, a lot of corrections, or as you said, the interest, influences, so many things there. I can add more words there. The interactions. Interaction is a big word. Social work is all about understanding interactions. Do you agree or not? Social work is all about making dysfunctional functional. That's what we do. There is a dysfunction in the house, we go and set up that. That means what? You make the house again functional. So how do we do that? By understanding those interactions there among the family members. Agree? So social work is all about understanding interactions. That's not easy. It takes lifetime. You have to study for that 2 years. Social work is all about, okay, let me say this, making a non-issue an issue. A non-issue, a non-issue. A non-issue, an issue. What do I mean by that? What do you mean by that? Huh? Do you agree? What is that?
So like the example you said about the cake today in the morning.
Yes.
For other people it's a non-issue.
Yeah.
But for social worker it's an issue.
Gay rights is not an issue. Old age pensions is not an issue. Disability is not an issue. Wife beating is not an issue. Child abuse is not an issue. But it is the social workers who makes this an issue in the society. It brings up. So we are really mad people. People are happy without social workers. They are not worried about these things. But if you're a social worker in a family, they start asking questions. I'm sure your husband will find you a little different. Your colleagues will find you a little different. I'm sure. It will happen with me also. What happened here? What are you asking? So many BSW students, my own students, their parents complain. Their parents complain to us. What are you teaching in this? She's asking so many questions. She's asking me what is my duties as a father. What should I tell? Duty bearers. You are not fulfilling your duties, father. You are only asking asking questions. So why I'm asking this is when we are trying to understand these interactions, maybe for them it's not an issue. Textbook printing is not an issue. But for us, it could be an issue. And that could be an issue for you to further, look into this. So interactions, I think, takes very interesting, things there. So process analysis, if you want to focus on that, be aware. You're getting into different things there. Maybe it takes your lifetime to just understand that one particular policy. Look at those 16 women that I showed you. They have taken their lifetime to make it to that cover. Because they just understood that one particular small thing and try to make changes. It takes time. As a social worker, maybe we will not be bring a lot of changes. At least we'll bring one change in your lifetime. One small policy, one family, and one school, and one whatever. I'm sure it happens. It is possible. So be aware that we are talking about process analysis because you are trying to understand the interactions. Interactions are nothing but making issues non-issues, trying to understand between the lines, trying to understand their interests, trying to understand their logic, trying to understand many things there. Okay? So that is when you are trying to do that, you are getting into a process analysis. Maybe you are evaluating also. Maybe you are monitoring. Maybe you are looking like a watchdog, you know. So many things can happen there. So that is what a process analysis.